Good evening. I've reviewed the latest developments, and I think it's important to speak plainly about what appears to be happening to Russian troops on the front lines in Ukraine. From everything we can observe, life for the average Russian soldier has become extraordinarily harsh. This war has always been costly, brutal, and unforgiving. But now, several years into the conflict, the pressure on Russia's frontline forces seems heavier than at any previous stage. Let me explain why. First, Russia appears to be facing a growing manpower problem. Casualties have been severe for a long time, and replacing experienced troops is not simple. You can recruit men, you can mobilize reserves, but rebuilding trained combat units is something entirely different. That takes time, discipline, leadership, and resources. Second, Ukraine has continued adapting technologically. We're seeing wider use of drones, precision strikes, surveillance systems, and battlefield automation. In modern war, the side that identifies targets faster and reacts faster often has the advantage. That means frontline troops can be exposed almost constantly, and from a soldier's perspective, that creates a terrible reality. You may survive artillery only to be tracked by drones. You may avoid one assault only to be sent into another. You may hold a position for weeks with little rest, poor supply lines, and commanders demanding movement regardless of conditions. That leads to the third issue, command structure. There are increasing signs that Russian leadership continues relying on attritional tactics, pushing men forward repeatedly in exchange for very small territorial gains. That kind of strategy can work temporarily if you have overwhelming reserves, but over time it drains morale, consumes manpower, and weakens unit cohesion. In simple terms, men begin to feel they are expendable, and once soldiers believe they are being treated as disposable assets rather than trained personnel, discipline begins to erode, confidence disappears, initiative disappears, fear replaces professionalism. Now, I want to be careful here. Russia still retains significant military capability. It still has artillery, missile forces, industrial output, and a large population base, so no one should underestimate them. But having resources is not the same as using them efficiently. If troops are poorly led, if logistics are disrupted, if innovation is slow, and if casualties exceed replacements, then even a large force begins to lose momentum. Another factor is the psychological toll. Continuous combat changes people. 4 years of sustained war means exhaustion across every level of the military system. Infantrymen, mechanics, drone operators, officers, medics, everyone. Fatigue becomes cumulative, mistakes increase, motivation declines. And while Russian troops face all of that, Ukrainian forces appear increasingly focused on striking rear areas, depots, transport nodes, assembly zones, command posts. Those attacks don't just destroy equipment, they create uncertainty. They slow reinforcement, they isolate frontline troops. So imagine being a Russian soldier in a trench today. You face enemy drones overhead, supply routes are dangerous, rotation may be delayed, orders may be unrealistic, reinforcements may be inexperienced, and every week the battlefield becomes more technological and less forgiving. That is an extremely dangerous combination. Now the larger question is whether Moscow can correct course. Can they modernize quickly enough? That is one of the central questions now facing Moscow. Modernization in wartime is not simply about producing more weapons or announcing new systems on television. It requires changing how an army thinks, how it communicates, how it trains, and how it adapts under pressure. Right now, the battlefield is evolving at remarkable speed. Drones are changing tactics almost monthly. Electronic warfare systems are being updated constantly. Small units need faster decision-making, better coordination, and access to technology that can survive in a hostile environment. So the question is not whether Russia can manufacture equipment, it is whether the Russian military system can transform itself fast enough to meet a new kind of war. Can they decentralize command and allow junior officers to make decisions quickly? Can they shorten the time between identifying a problem and fixing it in the field? Can they integrate drone warfare, reconnaissance, artillery, and infantry into one responsive structure rather than separate bureaucratic layers? Those are difficult reforms in peacetime. In wartime, while under constant pressure, they become even harder. Then there is the human factor. Can they improve leadership quality? That may be even more important than hardware. History shows again and again that armies with average equipment but strong leadership often outperform armies with better resources and weaker command culture. Leadership is not only about issuing orders, it is about competence, trust, accountability, and the ability to preserve morale when conditions are severe. Do frontline troops believe their commanders understand reality? Do officers report failures honestly, or do they hide them to protect careers? Are talented battlefield innovators promoted or ignored? These questions matter enormously. Can they stabilize manpower? Numbers alone do not solve manpower problems. Replacing losses with untrained or exhausted recruits may fill positions on paper, but it does not restore combat effectiveness. Experienced soldiers cannot be mass-produced overnight. Cohesion inside units takes time. Trust between men takes time. Tactical skill takes time. If replacements arrive faster than they can be trained, then the army may grow in size while weakening in quality. And then we come to morale. Can they restore morale in exhausted units? This may be the hardest challenge of all. Fatigue accumulates slowly and then suddenly. Men who have endured rotations under fire, poor living conditions, uncertainty, and repeated losses eventually begin to lose confidence. Some continue fighting out of duty, some out of fear, some simply because there is no alternative. But morale based only on fear is fragile. Morale based on confidence is far stronger. To restore morale, soldiers must believe sacrifices have meaning, leadership is competent, and conditions can improve. Without that belief, even large formations become brittle over time. These are difficult questions, and none of them have quick answers. Wars are often decided not only by dramatic offensives or major battles, but by institutional endurance. Which side learns faster? Which side replaces losses better? Which side adapts technology more effectively? Which side preserves the confidence of its soldiers while the pressure grows month after month? Right now, based on visible indicators, Russia appears to be under increasing strain in all of these areas. That does not necessarily mean sudden collapse. States with large resources can endure pressure for long periods, but it does suggest mounting stress inside the system, and stress inside military institutions always reaches the front lines eventually. Usually it reaches the ordinary soldier first. So when we ask whether Russia can modernize quickly enough, improve leadership, stabilize manpower, and restore morale, we are really asking something larger. Can the system correct itself before battlefield realities impose their own answer? That remains uncertain. But time in war is rarely neutral, and at the moment time does not appear to be working in Russia's favor.